TCK, an acronym for the longest time I thought meant something illegal. Turns out it stands for Third Culture Kid, a definition that I'm an example of, and as are many of you in this room. A third culture kid is someone who was born or raised in a culture that's different than their parents' background. For instance, my parents are from the greatest country in the world, Africa. We excel in every sport, and we never run out of melanin. Unfortunately, those were not traits that I developed through my genetics, but my hair is legally classified as its own building. I am the daughter of Somali-Canadian parents who met in Houston, Texas, raised us in Saudi Arabia, and shipped me off to boarding school here in beautiful British Columbia. Because of my parents' effectiveness of shaping myself and my siblings to become some young, competent, cross-cultural citizens, I'm guilty of always wanting to travel to new places. Safe to say that, where are you from? Is quite a difficult question to answer without giving a stranger the entirety of my life story. For the longest time, since I still believe that money grew on trees, I've always wanted to go to China. When I asked my parents if I could go, they said, "You want to go to China so badly? Go to Chinatown." I thought about their answer for only a sliver of a second before I shrugged it off. But during my momentary train of thought, what they said kind of made sense. Close your eyes for a second and think about your dream destination. Think about smelling the cherry blossoms of Tokyo, walking through the streets of Rome, standing in Times Square in New York, standing on top of a sand dune looking at camels in Dubai, stepping through into a closet through the gates of Narnia. Now imagine yourself logging online, going onto your bank account, and seeing all those zeros. If you're anything like me, these zeros are all after the decimal point. And if you're not like me, then my PayPal is at Lulu, Jama, $. I, for one, have been really taking advantage of Google Maps Street View, of course, meaning I've basically been around the world in 80 seconds. Oftentimes, when told to go out into the world and experience new things, we generally think travel. But why? Everyone's urge to travel is triggered by something. Whether it be a 2-week holiday after finishing school, or a longer trip to some exotic country, people feel the need to experience something new. Think about a time when you expressed your yearning to travel abroad and someone turned to you and said, "Well, why don't you?" To which you pause and think, if I carry the wine, move it over. Eventually, you just go with an answer. "I'm financially challenged." My PayPal is with John. Life is messy. But if you have a longing to learn more, we have never lived in a more perfect period than now. It isn't just about going around the world in 80 seconds on Google Maps. It's about becoming more of a global citizen in a time when we are more connected than we've ever been. In the middle of the night, can't say I remember exactly when, but around 2:49 a.m., I found myself laying awake in bed, bored, anxious, a little confused, the usual. My brain juices were flowing while I was having a riveting conversation with myself. Lulu, come up with a mind-blowing talk that no one has ever heard before, something that is the furthest from mundane. Yes, Lulu, you're absolutely right. The significance of multiculturalism and cultural diversity within communities is a talk no one has ever given before. Brilliant. Season 1, episode 11 of a mediocre Disney show called Jessie Got the Ball Rolling. To cut a long story short for your sake and mine, This episode was essentially about a spoiled rich girl living in the Upper East Side of Manhattan who had to take a train across the city to go to a cultural fair for a social studies project. Although she ultimately got lost by repeatedly taking the wrong train that landed her all over the city. She found herself in places like Chinatown, the Little Caribbean, Little Germany, and other small ethnic communities within the city. Of course, because it's Disney Channel, the spoiled little rich girl, and a valuable lesson about cultural diversity, blah, 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 blah. I didn't have an epiphany about cultural awareness by watching this, but it did get me thinking a little bit. Thinking about my life, where I grew up, my terrible choices in TV shows. It wasn't until several weeks later when I came across this picture of my grade 9 year, back in Saudi during an international week. In this picture are 12 different students, 14 different countries represented, and 15 languages spoken amongst us. Kids ranged from Russia all the way to good old culture-rich North America. I'd be lying if I said that I actively went out of my way to learn more about these people's cultures. The fact of the matter is, the minute size of my tight-knit town was the guiding factor to me making an appearance at these functions. The free food was, of course, what kept me there. I mean, International Week was filled with singing, dancing, storytelling from over 25 different countries. There were also Ramadan dinners, Easter gatherings, the Diwali Festival of Light celebrations. Some of you may not have a clue what on earth I just said, and that's okay. Planning your New Year's kiss since January 1st is time-consuming. I know. My point is, well, thank you. My point is, when someone comes from a small community or from a larger city with multiple ethnic enclaves, it makes it that much easier to get a peek into various cultures without having to go too far. You could probably learn something sitting right here. Take that Dutch-Canadian girl over there who lives in Turkey. She probably has a thing or two to say about whirling dervishes or Erdogan's plan for international domination. Or even that girl over there, who's originally Haitian and Swiss, but also holds a Canadian passport. The perfect blend of maple syrup and Swiss chocolate. Or maybe even that boy over there, who may not be as interesting as the others, but is only half Indian, a quarter Japanese, an eighth American, an eighth German, who lives in Hong Kong and studies here in Canada. No biggie. I can say with full confidence that these people season their food with much more than just salt and pepper, so go to their houses for dinner. I could stand up here preaching all day about talking to someone new, but you're already surrounded by such a diverse group of people, both here and wherever you live. So make an effort beyond the obvious, like getting on a plane or a train. We can all take advantage of the opportunity in front of us to have a conversation with someone about where they come from, and most importantly, how it all matters. Thank you.